Howdy, everybody. This is the Roaming Prepper. Normally not my day or my time to do a live, but lo and behold, here I am, uh, wading through Texas traffic because it wouldn't be fun otherwise. And I know I have the wrong overlay on that video right now. I heard something super interesting earlier today from Lead Farmer. For those of you who don't follow him, and what he was pointing out was to newer channel creators and just people in general that you're going to see a lot of folks will be ugly to you on the internet. They'll be ugly to you on social media. And he's telling these new creators, don't let it get to you, don't let it eat you up. But it got me thinking. During 2020, because of the Rona and the cootie, society made a shift. We were already an online society for a lot of things, but literally we locked people away for the better of, you know, uh, 10 years, 10 months to mitigate this cootie while they figured out exactly how to mitigate the cootie. And what I started to notice is you start seeing a lot of ugliness on the web, more so than you have in the past. But honestly, I started wondering, is the whole thing we saw last year with riots from both sides, people fighting, attacking others because you wore a red hat or a blue hat, if what we have done was create a mass psychological defect in society. Um, in the last 24, 48 hours, I've read about mass shootings in Russia, in, I think it was Germany or Belgium, and somewhere else. These are countries you normally don't hear. Hey, Milkmaid, how are you? Um, Normally don't hear of mass shootings because their laws are super strict. I mean, you can get guns in Russia, but you shoot someone, you're screwed. And you're starting to see these mass shootings. And it makes you wonder, have we just created, in an attempt to squish the cootie, created a mass psychosis in our society? Uh, and are we just now starting to see the fruits of that? And if so, what's going to happen going forward? Um, the behavior of people, even 5, 6 years ago, if you went in public and you smarted at someone's spouse or you threatened someone's kid, chances were you're going to get a punch in the mouth. You were certainly going to go to jail if you took it far enough. And now, hey, Joe, how are you? And now, well, and that's what I want to quantify, Joe. Joe brings a very good point. Joe, I'd highlight your comment, but as you can see, I'm kind of driving. But yeah, Joe makes a very good point. Um, there's a difference between an organized, intelligent resistance to something and this this psychotic behavior. And I'm thinking of the young lady that got killed in the park, Gabby Petito, I think her name was. Yeah, and I think in the past you had law enforcement was doing their job and could do their job. You also had people who needed help, for the most part, could get help. Hey, Shorty. But now, honestly, after that year, a lot of people were not getting meds. They weren't getting the treatment they needed. And it makes me wonder if in doing so, we just had a bunch of people in society who were being held together kind of by a thread, have kind of gone off the rails, and we're now starting to see the fruits of that. Um, well, yeah, and again, I think there's a difference between the government is overreached and the people are upset versus, like, a young couple go on a road trip and they get in an argument and the kid just kills the girl. But we're seeing more of that. We're seeing a lot of this weird lashing out where we didn't before. And honestly, I wonder if there's a group of society, a segment that they went online and could get away with shit, excuse my French, that they couldn't get away with in person beforehand. And now they've gotten used to that. They've gotten used to being able to be ugly to someone and suffer no consequence. Um, they they feel that, oh, I could troll whoever online, and we could throw bottles at the cops last year, or throw bottles at the other guy, or whoever the hell they were throwing bottles at. So I can continue to do this. And what we've done, we've created this perception in society. And if you notice, it tends to show with younger people that they could do whatever the hell they want, and there's no consequence. Then when they get a consequence, they're in shock. Um, I recently had a colleague tell me that his wife backed into a spot, and someone else saw the spot, but she was there. She was already there, blinker on, the unofficial rule, and she backed in. Milkmaid lockdowns. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Milkmaid. I think it exacerbated, and I think a lot of the societal, I guess, the stops or the barriers that were there, where people knew if I behave this way, I might suffer a consequence, right? And that's a deterrent, right? If someone knows, oh, in Texas, if I break into your house by Texas law, you can shoot me. Whether or not I have a knife or a gun is irrelevant. You broke in after dark, the state assumes you're an intruder. There's no other reason for you to be there. Um, and I think the stops have been removed. And on top of that, a lot of people who did need treatment or even meds like pain meds, folks who are suffering from chronic pain couldn't access them readily. And suffering from chronic pain that you can't treat will have a negative effect on a person. But I'm talking about that segment that's suffering from some kind of psychosis, because I'm starting to see this more and more, and that's concerning. Hey, Annie Oakley, I'm glad you made it. Um, it's concerning when you think about it that the stops aren't there. There's no boundary, and there are folks who literally feel they can do things that 5 years ago would have been unheard of. Hell, 2 years ago would have been unheard of. Again, going to my colleague's wife, backed into the spot, and the other person confronted her over a parking spot. Irrelevant that there were three other spots right next to him. And that escalated. Unfortunately for the individual, my colleague is a really freaking big guy. I mean, I'm not a small guy, but he's a big boy. And he basically offered, as Joe pointed out, a pain correction. He offered a correction to the individual, and the individual declined this correction, and went about their way. But it was kind of shocking to him that, holy cow, why did I even have to have that conversation? Why the hell are we arguing over this? So, and then there's the flip side to it. There are people who have gotten into depression because they can't reach out to family, or they're suffering from some chronic illness that they now couldn't treat. And now it's been a year. Now they're struggling with it. So it's a double-edged sword, but I'm a little concerned seeing some of the trends where you've watched, we're watching people basically do things that would have been unheard of before. And again, I think hearing what Lead Farmer said earlier, plus the recent mass shootings in other countries that normally you don't see those kind of things from, it makes you wonder, did we just introduce or push a bunch of people over the edge doing what we did? And Australia is finally rioting, or I don't know if they're rioting, they're really just clogged up Sydney. But you're seeing it in New York. People are getting frustrated. Um, and they're taking it out on the authorities. But it makes you wonder. And Shorty's right. And again, your words are real small to me, so I'm going to try and read it. Mister, I forgot my glasses at home over here. We've become a country of entitlement. Yeah, and that's absolutely spot on. I think people were already entitled, and then you took away the barriers. You took away those consequences. Um, Now, whether you agree or disagree with defunding the police, I think everyone can agree if you don't enforce quality of life laws, you're going to have people will do things they normally won't do. So it's something else we need to pay attention to because we're looking at food, we're looking at supply chains and inflation, but you add unavailability of food, supply chain issues, your money not being worth as much, or you can't find a job to the folks who are already lashing out because they don't have anything really holding them back anymore. Are we going to see something worse? And then that concerns me for this coming winter. Um, now I don't even know what Greek letter variant we're on of the cootie, but are we what? Lambda, mu, omega, epsilon? Uh, but, it's just, it makes you, it makes you wonder, are we not only going to see the food and the other issues, which we've all talked about, but is there the distinct possibility we're going to battle a larger increase than we're already seeing of these violent crimes, of these erratic crimes that, and there've always been murders. I'm not saying there haven't been murders or rapists. I mean, hell, they talk about it in the Bible. But, and right, and Joe, that's true. Omega should be the last one. So what happens after Omega? Do they do like double alpha, or double beta, or alpha beta? How does it go? I guess alpha beta would be it. Um, at that point, I wonder if anyone's even going to listen. Hey, never again. I spent 15 minutes in a mom's home with M shot. Was jabbed twice with M shot. Are you talking about the? Oh, okay, I figured it out. The company that starts with M is Never Again. I guess that's what you're saying. But yeah, we I'm wondering if doing whatever the hell they're trying to do, they're going to create a large group of people who've just gone off the rails more so than we've already seen. And then you want to go down a rabbit hole. Would this sudden lashing out of people be an excuse to clamp down harder? And who would they clamp down on? I see certain things, and I'm not one to go too far down a conspiracy rabbit hole, but I do love patterns. And mathematically, you start looking just objectively at all these things that are happening. It's like that looks like it's setting a great stage to really go to society. So just something to think about, guys. Pay attention to your surroundings, especially we go into the holidays. My friends at the local PD, and even back in Houston, Dallas, cops that I know, they always say the holidays are a high crime, both domestic crime because there's family stresses, but also thievery, assaults in the parking lots of malls and whatnot because people are shopping and their brains are off. And everyone's been locked up for so long that people have forgotten to behave, how to behave in public and what to pay attention to. Are we going to see that increase going forward? It's just something to think about. This whole factor of mental health, people going off the rails because they no longer perceive a consequence or a boundary. Uh, okay, yeah, that's what it was. The Moderna shot. But it makes you wonder what exactly is being teed up for us at the end of the year. So, folks, I mean, obviously, none of us can control that, but we can watch it and react to it. When you guys go about as we start getting into the holiday season, mischief night for Halloween, and uh, all the other things associated with the holidays. Um, People shopping, stealing of gifts, stuff like that, break-ins, porch pirates. Pay attention. Talk to your neighbors. Start aligning one another with how you want to watch your own. Basically, you can't watch everyone, so take care of your own for now. But again, guys, if you didn't see it, I think uh, Lead Farmer, he put it out. Oh Lord, it was earlier today, but it was interesting because he started talking about how people just act horrendously to other folks online, and 9 out of 10 times they don't create or mod or anything. They don't have a dog in the race. They kind of hide. They're very anonymous, right? They don't put anything out there. Then they lash out and threaten other people. And it made me think of society as a whole, that we're starting to see a lot of that, where people are just going to, you know, lash out and act horrendously, not really fearing any consequence, because consequences of. Oh yeah, Milkmaid, go ahead. I know this is a weird time for me to jump on like this. Okay, there we go. Never again. I spent 15 minutes in a man's house that was jabbed twice. When I was. That's interesting you say that. Yeah, and this is true. Politicians are good like that. Right. Hello, Donna. Right, and I think there needs to be a distinction between lashing out to defend rights or lashing out to protect your own versus I don't agree with you, so I'm going to be horrendous to you, because I fear that people getting away with it when society shifted to the online society for a whole year and then tried to come back to public. I think we set the precedent for a lot of folks to no longer believe there's any barriers, there's no consequence to their behavior. And I'm afraid we're going to now see it out in the streets. I think Chicago, New York, they're already seeing it. But I don't think that party's done yet. It's going to be a weird end of the year, guys. So, but as we've all pointed out, supply chain stuff like that, have your food in order, secure your home, educate whoever in your family and circle will listen. Uh, Make sure they're prepared. The more people that have preparations, the less we have to worry about as a whole. But check on your neighbors, check on your friends, especially if they're isolated, because you're going to start seeing a lot of these folks. If doors start getting closed again, you're going to start seeing that backlash, that psychological outburst. And that may not be pretty, but I would encourage you guys to, yeah. And Shorty, to your point, they say I'm offended, but they don't want to debate the offense, right? Which was what I grew up with. Uh, Even in college was, oh, you disagree? What are your arguing points? And then you had some kind of debate. That's not the case anymore. I'm offended if you don't. True. And then the question is, so there's an inconsistency in the way things are being put out. They took over a whole section of some folks took over a whole section of an American city and did whatever in there. That was simply a zone. A bunch of other idiots went and attacked a federal building. That was an insurgency. No, it's but like I said, I'm happy to see Australia, the UK, France, all these countries are really raising hell. If you guys dig around the internet, they're really raising heck with their governments, which I'm fine with. I think it's great. But again, folks, I think we've set a precedent where you're going to start seeing more of this. And I'm not a psychological advisor or anything. Like I can't comment like that. Just being observant. I think we've set a precedent. There are a lot of people who went online and got away with all sorts of stuff because really society had pushed everyone online. Yeah, and Joe's spot on. You try to help the people you can, because if your circle is better prepared to deal with things, then that's less folks you have to worry about. And it's also more people who can help you. Right. There are no more debate. I mean, there's certain things are blatantly racist, blatantly bigoted. But thank you, never again. I appreciate that. But Shorty's spot on, but not everything is like that. And look, I'm Latino. I'll tell you what, I've gotten racism from white people. I got racism from other minorities. Um, Actually, I had an aunt who was the most racist human being I ever met, but against everyone, especially other Hispanics. I never understood her sense of humor. I think she just liked to make fun of people. That was her thing. But point being, not everything is racist. We have to have the understanding and the perception of being able to understand what's said, maybe in ignorance, lack of understanding, versus someone being ugly. But in the bigger picture, um, it's everything now. It's and Shorty's point, it's not just uh, racist or bigot. It could be even it could be I agree with the tax or I disagree with the tax, and all of a sudden you're in a shouting match. It's no longer a society of people who are having a conversation. Yeah, that was my dad. My dad used to love saying that. He's like, I'm not a racist. I just don't like stupid people. And but again, there is a difference, and there's a blatant difference in my experience between someone who's being racist because of your color. You can tell. I promise you'll know. Um, versus someone who's either ignorant, they don't understand, or they could be an asshole who's just ugly to everybody. But to the bigger picture, going away just from the Donna agrees. Yeah, you hate the stupid people equally. Um, my concern is we've set a precedent, and I've seen it in a lot of. I don't see it out here in this part of Texas as much. I've seen it in other places where you have, especially younger folks, who are now developing. They're hitting that developmental part of their life right in the middle of this, and they're able to go online and say hideous crap to people and make threats and all sorts of stuff, and they get away with it. Heck, they had a school in Canada, two high school kids in Canada swatted an American high school. So what swatting is you call in a active shooter threat and to some other school, and then they send the SWAT team there and shut the school down on the other kids. And apparently it was caused because a kid from that high school insulted a kid from the other high school. So high school number two swatted high school number one. In their brilliance, they did it off a smartphone, which has its own IP address, and the cops tracked it back to the morons, and now they've been charged. Yeah, and that's a whole other topic of having medical rights and rights to privacy. Holy cow, we could go down a bunch of rabbit holes with that one. But guys, keep that in mind, and as we go into the winter, right? And again, this not only Lead Farmers video brought it up, but this morning I got up to go for my run. I had running shorts, t-shirt, hat. Got about 5 feet out the door and went, holy crap, it's cold. Ran back inside for a hoodie and realized it was 42 degrees. Yesterday morning was 75, 80. It literally dropped 30 degrees, 20, 30 degrees in a day. And that happens out here in this part of the country. Um, but you where was I going with that now? I got so many things in my head right now. You we're at a point where I think as the days get longer, and that's where I was going. So anyway, it's colder. It was still dark when I got up from my runs, so the days are getting shorter. It's getting colder, and then you get into the seasonal. Yes, I'm a new follower, Donna. I've heard of him before, and I finally remembered to subscribe to him. And I swear I subscribe to a lot of people, and then I go back and I'm not subbed anymore. But apparently that's a thing on YouTube. They just kick you off of stuff. But hey Klingon, how are you? But the days are getting shorter, it's getting colder. People are gonna by nature spend more time indoors. Yeah, start buying your fall stuff now. I would recommend buy your Christmas stuff now. Buy basically if you're gonna give it to somebody for the holidays, you may want to start looking for it now and do it in payments, which isn't a bad idea anyway. But again, the supply chain. So think about it. Days are getting shorter. It's getting colder. People are going to get naturally will go inside because of the weather. But now we've got a bunch of people who weren't acting right the last year because they could get away with it. Now those folks are in the mix. Add supply chain and food stresses and availability stresses, and you're going to start seeing a lot of people flip out again. And I fear toward the end of this year, we're going to have a repeat of what we saw in 2020. But instead of lashing out at cops per se or lashing out at some entity, they're going to start just freaking out in general. So I'm concerned about the general mental health of a lot of people going into the fall this year. So if you have folks in your circle and your family, people you care for that may be isolated for various reasons, whether they're sick or they can't get around, the car broke down, whatever, do check on them if you can, and do try to find them help if it's within your power to do so if they need it. But definitely pay attention to the way people are acting around you, because I have a feeling we're going to start seeing a lot of this, like the Gabby Petito thing. And there's a little boy that was missing. People are just doing the most bizarre crap. And again, it's in the media, and people say, well, they're trying to distract us from the train wreck in Washington. And yeah, I know there's a train wreck in Washington, but I'm seeing this whole pattern outside of that train wreck of people doing really erratic shit because they could get away with it. Yes. And I guess in a nutshell, Shorty, that's what I'm trying to say. Um, and yeah, and being prepared, making ready is a way to give yourself some solace. I know if there's a shutdown, I'm good for X amount of time. If there's a riot and I can't get out, I'm good for X amount of time. Um, and thank you, Donna. And yeah, and it is good to have a variety of people you listen to. And I did want to give a shout out to him. Northern Girl had something really good the other day, and I can't remember what she titled it. God, I just blanked out, guys. It's been one of those weeks. I don't know if you've had one of those where you get up and you're like, I have stuff to do. You get halfway through them and then forget what the hell you were doing, because that's been me all week. But yeah, Klingon has a good point. Make ready. If you can teach someone else to be ready, that doesn't hurt. Some people you can approach directly and say you need to be prepared. Other folks, you may do what I've done to some folks and say, you live in a hurricane area. You should have a hurricane box. I mean, that's just practical sense, don't you think? And 9 out of 10 times, when you present something like that, they go, oh, yeah, that's great. That's a really good idea. But as we've all pointed out, yeah, I think we all are at this point, Donna. So I'm out in the western part of Texas. So we're pretty much, if there's a cold front, the jet stream, when the jet stream does that little dip in the middle of the country, 80% of the time it hits us. And so we'll be like 80 degrees one day, 40. then back to 80, and then so you never know how to dress. But to that point, even be prepared for. I realized I haven't had lived in a true winter environment for decades, and now I'm somewhere where we do get snow and ice, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I need better boots now. I hadn't needed them for a while. But hey, JH. Oh, I hadn't seen that one. Yeah, and again, this is, if you guys hadn't noticed, when I do a video, I try to do, what can we do? I try to end it with, what can we do? What actions can we as individuals take to mitigate this problem? That's kind of like a root cause analysis, but I'm doing it backwards. Um, Basically, what is the solution that you can execute so that you can move forward in your existence and with your circle? And just again, guys, there's been a lot of societal pressure. Now we're going to have supply chain issues and stuff like that. Make sure you take the time to check on your friends, pay attention to what's around you, because I think it's going to really get weird toward the end of the year, and check on anybody in your circle who may need some help, and don't hesitate, if you can do so, to help them. And most of all, take care of yourselves. I think I've done a few shorts about wellness, about reflecting. Don't hesitate to do that. It's important to, yeah. It's important to take your time and just kind of understand where you're at. If otherwise, you'll burn yourself out, right? And I think Don or somebody just touched on that. My screen is really small, and I don't have my glasses, as I pointed out at the beginning. So folks are just things are flying by, and I'm kind of squinting at them. But take that time to reflect on yourself and yours. And, if your house is secure, then you put yourself in a position to help the people you care about outside your home. So start with yourself and work your way out. But pay attention when you're out and about for the holidays, because I think it's between the supply chain issues. I mean, people punch each other in Walmart on a good year. They have like record sales, record production, people punching each other in Walmart. This pendejada fighting in Walmart. I don't understand it, but they do it. So, one, don't punch people in Walmart. That's not nice. But I think with all the other stressors added in, you're going to see that a little bit more profoundly in the coming few months as we go into the holidays. So, guys, situational awareness is key, and do research. I've done videos, I know other people have. And yeah, start with faith. And if nothing else, I know folks who may not follow a particular faith, but I know folks who believe in just the principle of karma or self-reflection. Whatever it is, you have to be centered, and center yourself so you can help the ones in your immediate circle. And once you're in a good position, that then enables you to move forward and help others or help your community, if it's in your power to do so. But guys, pay attention to this psychological behavior. The Gabby Petito was a lot of puffery, right? I mean, I feel bad for the little girl, but that was a lot of sensationalism. But if you start reading similar articles, there's been a slew of it. Kidnappings and weird stuff, just weird stuff. And I'm like, what is wrong with people? What are y'all doing? And I don't know if they're better at reporting it or it's happening more, maybe a combination of both. So, yeah. And yeah, that's a good point, Donna. Uh, there, yeah. And by the way, very often solicitors may be scouts for people who steal. I've had that happen. Um, I've actually had There was one group in Houston, if I recall, that they went through a subdivision as solicitors. I don't remember what the hell they were selling. Um, and what they were doing is one person was walking and one person was following in a car, and they were actually scoping out houses. And so when you opened the door to talk to the person, that person was looking past you at everything in your house to see what was of interest. And then they went back and started going into the backyards. This was an older subdivision, so a lot of the houses had French doors. They would go over the fence and kick in the French doors, which were old anyway. And French doors are easy to break in if you don't secure them right, and try to go through. They hit my neighbor. My neighbor spoke to them. I didn't. I ignored them. When I left to go work, I guess maybe they saw me pull out. They went to my house after they hit my neighbor. They tried to kick in my door. I had a 90-pound German Shepherd at the time, and he had all sorts of things to say to them. And when I came back, their footprint was on the outside of the door, and his teeth mark were on the inside because he was trying to get out to kill them. So, yeah. So big dogs help too, by the way. Corgis will probably just trip them, make them hit their head on the counter. But again, the solicitors, there's a lot of stuff going on. But again, guys, pay attention with all these pressures, the lockdowns, the societal pressures, the supply chain issues, the food issues. You're going to probably start seeing a lot of people really coming off the rails. And that mental health issue, on top of the fact that many of them could not get the treatment or the meds they needed over the last year in a consistent way, is going to multiply going forward until society as a whole can get a handle on it, if they can. So pay attention. Yeah, this is true. And you know what? Sadly, it's gotten to that point, Donna, that you have to think like that, because there's no guarantee the guardians who are out there, the police, the responders, can make it on time. There are not enough of them, and usually they're underfunded to begin with, much less now. Um, but yeah, and there's always, the political aspects, as Joe's pointing out, of disarming the populace. I'm excited. I go to the ranges anywhere in Texas. I'm seeing a lot of diversity. I'm seeing a lot of ladies out there, and in groups, not just like a lady goes and shoots. There's a whole group. Used to come from a medical center in one part of Dallas, would all go to this one shooting range for lunch every Thursday. They'd show up. I went there one day to look for a scope, and I asked the owner, those ladies took up like your whole range. She goes, "Oh yeah, they reserve it." They were from like nurses and admins from a hospital, and all 12 of them, they took up his whole range every Thursday, and then they'd go have coffee. So I'm excited to see that. Um, that's a good little pistola too. But yeah, and that's important. And a lot of it is the way you deliver the message, Shorty. You're absolutely right. Sometimes you just go and say, "Hey," if you get too confrontational, they get defensive. Um, Sometimes it's as easy as giving them a gift. You look and you say, "You're running a little low on food," so you buy something for them, and then say, "Hey, it was on special. It was too good a deal to pass up, and I got one for you because I knew you could use it." In the back of your mind, you're helping them, but they're thinking you saved money, and they don't feel bad. They don't feel like they're taking from you. It's almost like a win for everyone. A lot of it's in the pitch and the delivery. Something I've done a large part of my career doing, contract negotiations. So, yeah, look for symptoms, educate yourself a little bit. But yeah, guys, pay attention, not just to your loved ones, your friends, your circles, but the people in society around you at large. I just have a bad feeling we're going to start seeing a lot of weirdness from individuals in society, not necessarily one political affiliation or another, because you could get stupid anywhere. you're going to start seeing that because of all these supply chain, the food. I have a feeling eventually they get to the right Greek letter and they're going to start locking doors on us or certain segments of society, and it's just going to make it worse. People cannot get the help, even like I said, the pain. It may not be a psychological thing per se. They may have chronic hurt from a car accident or some other illness. They can't get the meds they need in a timely manner to mitigate the pain, and systemic pain will cause you to not think straight. So, there are a lot of things going on. I didn't mean for this to be a psychology lesson, but pay attention to the people around you, especially as we get toward the holidays, and especially if they were veterans. I know I've already spoken to my buddy out here who he was a sniper, and I asked him what he thought about everything overseas, and his response was, "I'd go back if they needed me, but I'm kind of glad I'm here." And then at that point, we decided to go get beer. So, but it was a little buddy check, right? You just check on your friends and make sure they're doing okay. So do that. All we can do is watch out for each other and share news. So guys, collaborate, get together on pricing, get together. If you can get into different groups on Discord, trade notes on pricing, product availability. Um, some people in my extended mag have gotten to the point, because it's a very loosely organized mag of old friends, and we'll get a text saying, "Hey, I found such and such at 50% off. Who needs one?" And Venmo becomes your best friend until they tax it next year, apparently. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So just pay attention, watch for this stuff, guys. Um, yeah, stuff like that, Shorty. That's absolutely spot on. Um, or you say, "Hey, you could use this dehydrated food or MREs for camping. I know you used to camp. Maybe you'll go again." "Oh, sure, okay." They say thank you, and now in the back of your mind, you've done a good for them. But yeah, that's great. Helping people out. Also, well, it's funny, Don. I have a friend who's an immigrant from the Middle East, and he's a very modernized guy, right? But even he said he was looking through the Quran, and he was talking to his neighbor who's a Baptist. So it's kind of an interesting conversation. And all the ancient people all kind of pointed out this is how things will go sideways if and when they do. And they compared the old faith texts. There was a lot of similarity. Like these ancient folks, they paid attention. They were like, if it goes sideways, this is how it'll probably go down. So makes you wonder, most definitely. But guys, take care of yourselves, take care of your physical and your mental health. Don't forget that, okay? Because those go and expand your mind. I guess it's that triad of health or wellness. Your body, mind, and spirit. I believe was what they used to say. But pay attention to folks around you, because I promise you, there are people who are not doing that, and they may need help, but they could be danger too. So be mindful of what's going on around you, gang. Uh, Again, I was driving across a chunk of Texas now, and this popped in my head as I was listening to someone else. I thought I'd share my thoughts with you. I know not my normal time to do one of these, but in any case, I do gotta jump on a conference call here now that I've gotten back to the homestead in a few minutes. So I'm gonna have to let you all go. You guys stay safe out there, and be careful with all this nonsense, because it's just weirdness everywhere. And until next time, y'all, Godspeed wherever you go, and check up on each other. Keep an eye out. And everyone say some prayers for D9. She's been a longtime follower of me, and she got hurt real bad. A Northern girl brought it up as well. She got attacked by one of the animals on her farm. If I recall correctly, it was a ram. Came out of the herd and clobbered her when she wasn't looking, and then clobbered her several times while she was trying to run away. So, and I think she's having surgery today. I may be off a day because I was behind on the chat, but yeah, that's tough. And she made, yeah, yeah, that was true then as it is now. So, but guys, you guys take care of yourself, be safe, and take care of your physical and mental wellness. And if you can, help someone else out. Like I said, the less people we have to worry about, the better off we're going to be if something does go off the rails in general in society. And by the way, meat prices, the chicken went down and the beef went up here in Texas. So if you need chicken, I'd get it now because I don't know how long it's going to be down. I don't know if they had like chicken season or something, but in any case, grab it when you can. All right, guys, y'all be safe, stay righteous, and stay blessed. And I will holler at you guys later this week. Take care.